Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and once again, it's Aaron and Franklin. We're going to talk today. I'm here with Chandra, and we've we went through the TWIA saga. We introduced the key players, or a lot of your people that people deal with over the last couple weeks, and I think we've got maybe one or two more to go. I can't remember where we're at on that, but you're a civilian now. You're not on the TWIA board anymore. You outlived the length of it, but you still keep up with it. And in fact, they have a meeting coming up, don't they, in December or January?
December, yes. December the 10th.
What are you seeing? Do you think everything's just going to go as it has been? Are they going to fight for us? What do you think's going to happen in this meeting, since it's the first one of the year?
Sure. So the December meeting, the meetings are structured quarterly, and they're pretty typical as far as what happens at those meetings. A couple of notable things that are going to happen in the meeting on Tuesday, December 10th. That's going to be in Corpus, so that is in a coastal location. It's at the Omni Hotel, in case anybody wants to go. But one of the main things is that they're going to be introducing the new board members. So we do have one of the new board members is a coastal representative, so we will have at least a little bit more representation again. They're still short 4 seats. So
they haven't filled, or any more of those coastal area?
There's one more coastal seat that needs to be filled. And so they're going to be introducing that new board member. His name is Greg Smith. He's from the Corpus Christi area. He's CEO of a Pioneer Resorts, which is, some vacation things. And he was formerly on the city council for Corpus Christi. So he's pretty well ingrained in that.
He's got
things that are going to be impactful to the coast, right? So I think he's going to have a good perspective on that. So they're also looking for someone kind of more in. They have, our other coastal representative is down in Brownsville. That one's in Corpus. They're looking for one from this area. So I imagine that will be the next one that is appointed, as someone from this region, probably from the Beaumont area down, through the Corpus area, somewhere in that region. They're going to want to pick somebody to represent this area of the coast. I know there's some people that have submitted applications, but it's not a quick process. They do a lot of vetting, which is good. They should. It's a very public and, it's a public position, and it's also, you take a lot of heat. So they want to make sure that, you can, one, you have the qualifications for it, and two, that you're willing to make that kind of commitment, because it does get a little heated at times.
I couldn't do it.
Right. Yeah. It's okay some of the time, but sometimes it gets a little spicy. And then the other thing is, because 2 of the board members that left, myself, I was the chair, and then Georgia Neblett, who was the vice chair, we were both coastal representatives, and now they're going to have to elect new officers. Well, they have a very small pool of officers. They have the current secretary treasurer, and then they have 4 other regular board members, and one of them is this brand new board member who's just got oriented.
So do you have to be on there so long before you can be, a chair?
No, you don't. But typically, you'll want to go through a few cycles just to kind of get a good broad understanding of everything that TWIA faces. Even if you've been an outside looking in, it's different when you're privileged to, like most positions, you're privileged to additional information, context, the different relationships. It really changes your overall perspective. I know that I didn't have a good understanding of everything related to TWIA for a good year and a half. You kind of have to go through that whole quarterly cycle for a whole year to understand the whole picture, and then you're smart enough to start asking the right questions, So then you start getting dangerous. So they are doing, like I said, they're introducing that new board member. They're still 4 seats down, so there's really not a lot of action that they can take. They don't have enough board members to do anything related to rates, because that always requires a 2/3 vote, and so that would be 6 of the 9, and so we don't even have 6 right now. So there's no way they can do anything related to rates. But they are going to be voting on their budget for 2025, which they had already pre-done. They have a pre-meeting, which was in November, and they go through kind of all the meat of the budget and ask questions and ask for any context around things that they want to put in place for 2025. And then they will actually vote on that to accept that at the December meeting. So we used to try to do it all together, and it was too much, because if you had any kind of questions, you had no time to really ask those questions, get answers, and then be able to vote on it. So they started doing that in an earlier kind of standalone meeting. So
how's TWIA setting right now? You know, we had a major storm Burl that came through. Do you think they're doing okay? Do you think that we're going to see some changes down the road?
Well, and
I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Yeah, there's going to have to be some changes, because, you know, right now, going into this year, especially because we have nothing left really in the catastrophe reserve trust fund. So we don't have anything in savings in our piggy bank that's going to help us start at our bottom layer of funding. So our reinsurance gap just got bigger. And then, of course, we've taken on more people in the last year and more policies. So there's more people to insure, higher exposure. So the amount of reinsurance we need is higher. So we would have needed more reinsurance anyway. And now that you've taken out that bottom tier of funding, that gap is even greater. So it's going to be a very challenging year for TWIA to look at how much reinsurance they need, what level of funding they're going to put in place as far as their PML. That then they're going to have a very uncomfortable rate conversation. So all those things, you know, the February meeting is where they set the PML. The May meeting is where they discuss placement of the reinsurance before the storm season. The August meeting is the one that they do the rate recommendations, and they start doing the actuarial evaluation in like June, July. And so it's a, like I said, it's a cycle. You know, you got to go through all the cycles, and then December is always, you know, budgets and getting ready for the next year. So
let me ask you this, and you don't have to answer it. What kind of restructuring could be done to help TWIA without hurting the end user, the homeowner? Is there anything that can be done?
Yeah, so I think some of the things that they're considering doing is more like a statewide catastrophe surcharge, because if we took the amount that was needed to keep TWIA solvent and spread it out along the whole state, the surcharge is pretty small, and it would, it would prevent us from having to have so much in reserves. The other thing that I think would be really good is if the state would step in and actually, instead of us purchasing reinsurance from an outside party, we basically get guaranteed that if we need that money, instead of us buying reinsurance, we could take that money for that premium for that reinsurance, $200, $300, $400 million, and put that in our bank account every year. And if we don't need it, then we didn't have to buy it, and the state would guarantee that they would insure us for that amount. We have plenty of money. We have a surplus right now. There's no reason why the state could not guarantee us that reinsurance amount and not make us go shop for it outside of.
How much does TWIA spend on reinsurance?
I want to say it was like $400 million last year.
So if they put that $400 million in an account, and say they didn't need it for 2 years, now we're looking at $800 million.
That's right.
You know?
And so the amount that the state would need to supplement goes down as we're able to bank that money over time. Yeah, we don't have a storm every year. Sometimes we have little hailstorms, or sometimes we have, big, sometimes we have big events. But like Beryl was a moderate event. It was only a 1, but it did a lot of damage because it had a lot of wind and tree damage, which caused a lot of roof, especially damage, and some structural damage due to trees falling over. So there was a lot of kind of unexpected. You wouldn't expect that from a 1 typically, right? It was kind of unexpected.
Well, the area that it hit too, there's more trees down,
more densely populated, and
right.
tighter packed trees. It's not like it's just open beach or anything. So it was, they paid about $450 million in claims, which is a lot, and that was in our entire bank account. So although we didn't have to go to the next tier of funding, we've used it all. So
you just said they spent $450 million.
Yeah, right about 450.
Reinsurance costs $400 million. So
yeah,
if they would have been able to roll that into an account, they would have still had $350 million left if they had to get $50 million out of the account to cover.
Yeah, they could have gotten that from just the policy money.
Yeah,
versus the amount that we're paying.
Okay, I understand. I see what you're saying.
So it's a really complex issue, and honestly, the funding structure for TWIA hasn't been touched in like 50 years. So it really needs an overhaul. We're really fortunate that we have a couple of good champions for this, Mays Middleton and Todd Hunter. They're one's in the House, one's in the Senate. They're both in very well poised to lead the charge. But the problem is we have to make the rest of the state understand why it's important for them to also be a part of the solution. How important the coast is to the infrastructure and to the economy for the state, and that this isn't going to be solved by a handful of coastal legislators. It's going to have to be a statewide, agenda, and they have to understand how important we are to that, to the state itself. So until they do and they really take it seriously, we're not going to see any substantive changes. And I think Mays and Todd Hunter are really on the right track when it comes to maybe making those changes. But a lot happens in legislative sessions. We're moving into one next year, and a lot of things could happen. So we'll just be, well, that's one of the things we'll look at for next year too, is I'll help keep an eye on the legislation, and anything interesting that comes up for TWIA or any movement on any proposed legislation, we'll definitely keep you up to date on that.
I know I've had some comments. Some people have stopped me and they said, David, Aaron and Franklin, y'all have been doing a lot on TWIA, and it helped them understand how things work, helped them because they knew it had gone up, and they said that, the shows that we did following the rate increase suggestion and where it was going and all that. And then some of them said they really learned a lot on how it worked because they dove into the meetings more and some of the other stuff. So I want to thank you for, even though you're a civilian now, keeping up on it, and with your background, you understand what costs are and how to make things better. And so, and before we know it, we'll be in 2025, and we'll be looking back and saying, well, here we go again, 4 months away. It's hurricane season. So
that's right.
Well, Shonda, thanks for joining us today and keeping us updated on the TWIA saga as far as what's going on. I appreciate it, and I know a lot of the listeners appreciate it too. So we're going to head on out. We'll be back next week, maybe with a Christmas show. If that's the week, maybe it's the week after, but I can tell you we're going to be here with Chandra. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.